In the last few hours, the US has just stopped short of placing 50% tariffs on steel to Canada, its biggest steel supplier. Instead, it's going to be 25%, and that applies right across everybody, including the EU, who we're going to talk about in just a moment. They've issued countermeasures. But just before I came on air, we spoke to Akshay Dubey, who's the CEO of Canadian business CVW Clean, and he gave me his reaction.
It's interesting because what I say to folks is I was happy for the last 4 years because I didn't have to wake up every morning and look at Twitter to figure out what the economic world looked like. But feels like we're back in that regime where things change not by the day, but by the hour.
So talk me through what you understand has happened and how does that affect you personally? We understand that there was a conversation between Doug Ford and somebody on the American side talking about, OK, we're going to row back on the increased electricity prices if you row back on the tariffs. Is that your understanding?
That's our understanding as well. I think Donald Trump came out obviously very aggressively against the electricity pricing hike. I think he came out in response with a potential hike on aluminum, the majority of which for the United States, I think over 80% comes from Canada, which would obviously impact industry in Canada, but would also impact a whole host of industries in the United States that really use aluminum as a major component or raw material for a lot of their goods. Think about vehicles, etc. So from that perspective, it felt like something that would not just hurt Canadians, but certainly hurt Americans as well. It feels like for the moment, calmer heads have prevailed, and there is a negotiation that's going to take place between Doug Ford and the powers that be in the United States. And at the same time, we now have a new prime minister in place, so it'll be interesting to see what the federal response is. But it does seem that there is a lot of consensus at the federal level, whether it's our incoming prime minister in Carney or in the official opposition and Pierre Poilievre, all of whom believe that standing tall against tariffs with counter tariffs is the right policy going forward.
You've given us a sense of that back to 4 years ago, waking up in the morning and looking at X. Well, it was Twitter then, but it's X now, to try and find out what the economic policy of the day is. But aside from that, it has been more transformational this time round. I mean, we are waking up this morning to hear that the EU is going to have countermeasures against the US. The UK hasn't said that it's going to do that. I'm guessing it's hoping to get an overall better trade deal with the United States. But that's the world in which we live now, all countries facing these tariffs, including Canada. But I mean, are there any opportunities to be had? Are there any trade opportunities with other countries?
Certainly. I'd say, one, in Canada, there's a massive opportunity for interprovincial trade. And so if you hear politicians speak about this, and I was surprised to hear this, even as someone that spent my entire career in sort of the financial and investment field, is that the internal barriers to trade here in Canada amount to almost a 12% tariff between provinces.
Really?
So if you think about that. Yeah. And it's something that I didn't even realize until maybe the last few months as this has created an opportunity. Now, that requires obviously rerouting trade flows. Canada is a massive country, so trading from the West Coast to the East Coast would be like trading from the UK to Russia in terms of distance. And then, of course, Canada has been engaged with the EU in discussing a free trade agreement, which was instituted a couple of years ago, but hasn't led to any real increase in trade. So I think this is an opportunity for us to embrace our partners in Europe and in UK and even in places in Asia like Japan and really strengthen those trade ties. So for Canada, we've become a much more resilient economy that isn't just dependent on a single country and our partners in the United States. And this could be a real awakening for us. So I think a lot of us are viewing this as there's going to be pain in the short term, but it really does create that opportunity to create a stronger economy in the medium to long term.
That is Akshay Dubey, CEO of Canadian business CVW Clean.